So check this out. Fender did a study and found out that 90% of people who start learning guitar quit within 1 year. 90%. But here's something even crazier. That's the highest dropout rate of any instrument. Piano, violin, voice, etc. They all have higher success rates. In today's video, we'll talk about why guitar has such a high quit rate. We'll also talk about the best free resources you can use to learn guitar on your own. So whether you're new to guitar, you've been playing on and off for years, or you're stuck in a plateau, stick around because what we're gonna talk about today can save you from quitting, and it can save you years of time spinning your wheels learning the wrong way. There's no getting around it. The guitar is a tough instrument, and it's especially hard at two key points in the learning journey. Unfortunately for us, one of those key points is right at the very beginning. Now, this is one huge reason why guitar has a higher quit rate than other instruments. It's very hard to get started. So a normal learning curve might look something like this. This curve shows the relationship between the time you put in and the results you get. This is the standard learning curve, and it shows big gains at first, and then they slowly taper off as you reach higher and higher levels of proficiency. In other words, with most learning, you get big results right away, and it's not until you're really good that you have to put a lot more time into getting results. Now, with guitar, the learning curve is different. This is an S curve, and it's a little bit more complex than a standard curve. Here, you see it takes a while to get off the ground, then you start seeing some big gains, then once again, it tapers off at the top. This weak part at the beginning of the curve represents the first phase of learning guitar, which I call the danger zone. This phase is weeks for some people, it's months or even longer for others. But what exactly goes on in this phase? Unfortunately, not very much music. This is mostly where you're figuring out how to just make the guitar sound. Your sitting position, how to put your fingers down, how to strum, how to pluck, etc. The curve is super flat because, unlike an instrument like piano, where you can put a finger down and immediately make a good sound, the guitar requires you to coordinate two hands and multiple fingers at once, and the sitting and hand positions are just not as intuitive as other instruments. This means you have to put in a lot of time and effort for slow progress and minimal results. Some of you have been there, some of you are there right now, and I'm sure you can relate to these kinds of frustrations that happen in the danger zone. Most of your notes sound muted or buzzed. You can't play through a full song without getting stopped all the time. It takes you forever to change chords, and you can't do it in time. You can only successfully play super basic melodies or exercises that aren't even fun to play, etc. Now, Fender didn't measure this, but I would bet that most of those 90% who quit during this initial phase. And that's precisely why I call it the danger zone. So, how do you make it past the danger zone? Well, in my opinion, you have two options. The best option is to take a beginner course. And online learning has been around for a long time now. There are so many platforms and teachers out there that are going to help you get through the danger zone. Don't do it alone. What's even better is that at the super beginner level, most courses are free. Here are some of the most popular courses you could check out and some info about each one. We got Justin Guitar. He's one of the first ever YouTube guitar teachers, been around for many years. I've only heard good things about it, so he probably won't steer you wrong. Check that one out. TrueFire. TrueFire has a huge library of courses to learn from some of the top pros and teachers in the world. Many courses are paid, but there are also lots of beginner courses that are free. We've got Fender Play, that's a little bit less comprehensive, but if you're completely new to guitar, you have a short attention span, Fender's approach could definitely help. There's also Guitar Tricks. They also have a lot of beginner resources and a good guided system for beginners to progress. So what are the pros of taking a course? You can trust that you're learning things in the right order and doing it the right way. You'll plug into a comprehensive and a progressive system right away. And there's really proven success because these courses often have many students. They're tapping into the classic ways for beginners to learn. You should also be aware of the cons of taking a course. They can be a little bit boring, basic. They can be very technique and exercise heavy, which may not keep you motivated. The pace might not be a fit for you. They often go too slow. And they're not, traditionally in the sense fun because you're not really learning what you choose to learn. That said, I would most definitely recommend taking a beginner course as the first thing you do. And hey, with everything being free, what do you have to lose, right? If, however, you find yourself losing motivation, if you're frustrated or bored to the point where it's looking like you're headed towards that bad path or towards quitting, it's time for option number 2. Option 2 is easy victories. In the danger zone, staying excited and motivated is key. So if you've already tried beginner courses and you're still losing motivation, it's time to pivot to easy victories. YouTube will be the best place to give you that, but be careful. These days, YouTube has everything you need and more to learn guitar up to a professional level, honestly. But it's very easy to lose yourself in it. Think of YouTube as an ocean of information, and you are sailing that ocean. But if you don't navigate it well, you could easily get lost, get caught in a storm, and you could even die. During this first phase though, as long as you stay pretty close to the shore, you can pretty much go buck wild, have a ton of fun, just hopping from video to video, and that can keep your motivation very strong. Exploring the ocean's coastline like this can give you a chance to learn what you're interested in and what you're not, to learn what kinds of tutorials you like and what styles of guitar interest you. So it can be really useful. Here are some ways to learn guitar as a beginner on YouTube while you stay close to the shore, so to speak. Try searching using keywords with the word beginner. Beginner tutorial, beginner guitar lesson, beginner guitar, etc. That's going to make sure it's at your level. Choose tutorials that have a deliverable at the end of the video so you can actually finish something. That'll keep your motivation strong. Let's say, for example, you're learning a riff that has tabs. Well, now you can get the tabs, finish that riff, learn it, and then move on. As you're checking out videos, find and keep the teachers you like. They're rare gems in a sea that can have a lot of bad information. And this is a big piece of advice from me. Look for videos that teach technique. You don't have a teacher, and that's the biggest disadvantage of self-teaching. So don't underestimate how important it is to learn technique. Here's what not to do when you're learning on YouTube. Number one, unfinished business. If you're doing too many tutorials and no victories, your motivation battery is going to drain. And that can sneak up on you, so be careful. Make sure you find something you can finish so you feel good and you got that victory. Advanced lessons. It's tempting to try out your favorite song, but if you start something that's out of your league, run away. Go fight a battle that you can win a little bit easier. Don't do this forever. This style of learning is best for starting out only. It's for having fun, getting easy victories, and discovering what you want. It is not the ideal way to learn, but it will help keep your motivation high, and right now, that's probably the most important thing. Once you're at the point where you can do things like strum or change chords without losing the rhythm, play fingerstyle patterns and chords, play a full song from beginning to end, that's a sign that you've made it through the danger zone. Congrats. The next phase of your journey is what I call the honeymoon phase. Going back to our curve, as you can see, the curve suddenly gets a lot steeper during this part, which means your performance skyrockets with minimal extra time input. Why does this happen? Because as we know, guitar is hard to start, but once you learn how to coordinate those hands, once you've got your sitting position down, suddenly it's actually quite easy to get going. You can learn some basic movements and shapes, and you can do a lot of things. Kind of like you have a shiny new set of tools, and even with just simple tools, you can make a lot of really cool things. So get out there, use those tools. Go jam on your favorite songs, go play those classic riffs, go strum and pluck different chord progressions, learn some improvisation. Use the time to explore and get even more of a sense of what you really like to play, and pay special attention to what styles you like. But again, be careful. The honeymoon phase should be a phase, and it won't last forever. And as we know in real life, when the honeymoon phase ends, you gotta be ready to work through your problems or you might be in for an early divorce. So how do you know when the honeymoon phase is over? Basically, once you start feeling bored or stagnant, it's time to move on from the honeymoon phase. What comes next? As the saying goes, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. If you've made it past the honeymoon phase, you're probably realizing you want to be a lot more advanced. The problem is you don't have much of an idea of how to get there. This final flattening of the curve is what I call the burnout zone. And it's where many people quit because they lose direction and they lose that motivation that comes from progress. Even more than quitting, it's often the point where people stop caring about getting better and they just kind of float in and out of playing guitar. They take a few years off, then come back. One day they wake up and they're 70 years old and they realize they never hit their goals despite playing guitar their entire life. Don't wait until you're 70 to realize you can do more. In my opinion, there's only one way forward from here. Choose a learning path and stick with it. This means go back to a course or method books, but importantly, it also means pick a style to play. Honing in on a specific style is really the only way at this point to get you advancing the way you want to. Plus, with your past experience, you should have a clear idea now of what styles interest you most. So pick one, you're ready to dive in. You'll likely already have an idea of what course to get or what platform to use based on your past experience. But if you don't, start with YouTube. Start entering keywords for the style you want to learn, watch a few one-off lessons until you find a channel or platform that convinces you they have a good course. From there, take the course. Now just a quick note, this course is likely going to be paid, but this is the point in your guitar journey where you should spend money. Why? 1, at this point you need premium versus free content to learn best. 2, the only reason the beginner stuff is even free is to eventually get people to pay for this stuff. So you likely won't find this kind of content for free anywhere. And 3, it does not cost nearly as much as something like private lessons, so you're not going to break the bank. It's absolutely worth it. Now remember, I didn't just say choose a learning path. I said choose a learning path and stick with it. Honestly, I would say stick with it for maybe a year, but at least about 6 months. Ideally until you hit a serious milestone, whether that's getting to the end of a course or hitting a big goal that you've set for yourself. It's important to stick with something like this, even if you lose some interest. You need to get used to that flatter curve now and accept that you're not going to be having so many easy victories like you did in that honeymoon phase. Honestly, it takes time to get used to the slower pace of success, but I promise you, you will find deeper fulfillment at the end of it. Once you get through a course or method or two, you'll find you have more opinions and insight into what you need next. Pay attention to how you feel as you decide. Maybe you need more advanced courses in the same style. Maybe you need another learning path. Maybe you want to strike out on your own again now that you're at a higher level. The way will be shown by your success as you make your way down a learning path. Okay, so now we've discussed every part of the self-guitarist journey. We have the danger zone, where you should take a beginner course to learn the basics, or if you have to, find easy victories on YouTube. That leads us into the honeymoon phase, where you can have fun playing easy songs, jamming a bit, not worrying too much about progress. And finally, you'll need to push through the burnout zone, where you need to get on a learning path, or you will enter the endless cycle of quitting and restarting, never progressing and always wishing you were better. But wait, I promised the most important information at the end. Here it is. It is the simplest and yet also the hardest thing to do. Practice every day. Without practice, you lose motivation, and without motivation, you don't want to practice. It's a vicious cycle. Don't wait for motivation or inspiration to get your guitar out. Here's a mantra I'd like you to tattoo on your brain. Action precedes motivation. If you make the time, notice I didn't say find the time, and you do the thing, you will definitely be more motivated. And look, I know for many of you it's easier to watch the tutorials, go through the course modules, and even call that practicing, but that is just your lesson. They can teach you the info, but they can't practice it for you. On that note though, I do have some good news. We know that practicing is really on us, but if you're feeling like you need an extra jump start to get in the habit of practicing, you should definitely check out Practice Pilot. Practice Pilot is a card game for practicing guitar. It's super fun. You basically just pick some cards and it creates a practice session for you. And it also guarantees that you're not only gonna have fun, but that you're gonna have a good, effective session. It's kind of like a personal trainer for practicing guitar, and it can really help jumpstart your motivation and get your progress going again. I put a link in the description so you can learn more about it, and you can be one of the first to pre-order it. If this video inspired you, I'd benefit a lot if you gave it some love. Make sure to subscribe for more content like this, and I'd love to hear in the comments your frustrations and your successes in your own guitar journey, so let me know.